Word. Let's get right into the main topic. Ding.
Ding, ding, ding. So, this is probably gonna be a quick one too, but we'll see. So yeah, the kids are outside, and by the kids I mean the people that are younger than us. So the Gen Zers or the later millennials are outside doing weird things. We've all seen it on the internet. One of the things that they seem to be big proponents of is the women proposing to the young men. So there was a video that went viral this past week where a young lady proposed to a young man. And, you know, the Twitter sphere was ablaze with commentary about this young lady proposing to this young man. And a friend of mine sent it to me, and we were kind of talking about it back and forth. And I was like, let's have a conversation about this, because I feel like I've seen kind of two sides of the conversation. Like, one side is, nah, women shouldn't be doing stuff like that. Men are the ones who need to take charge, and if they want to get married, they know what they need to do, blah, 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 blah. And then the other side is, well, we talk about women's equality and we talk about feminism and blah, 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 blah. So why shouldn't a woman be able to propose to a man if that's what she wants? Yada, yada, yada. And then you've got the people kind of like, oh, well, if you proposing to a man, you must be desperate. He don't really want to marry you, but now you pushing him into a corner, etc. So I kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit and kind of see where our heads are regarding this hopefully not new phenomenon of women proposing to men, because that is not a thing I'm trying to see.
Well,
personally, but we can discuss further.
Yeah, the reality is, it doesn't concern anybody else.
No, it doesn't.
The reality
It doesn't.
If she proposes and he accepts it and he has no problem with it, then she's right.
Then she's what?
Then she's right.
She's right?
Yes.
Did you see that show? What was that show we were watching?
That is the end.
What was that show me and you were watching? Well, not me and you. Oh Lord, what is it? It used to come on after Married at First Sight. Oh my gosh. Marrying Millions. And there was a couple on there. It was like an older white woman and a younger white guy. I don't know if you remember the guy. He didn't have no job. He wasn't doing nothing. And she proposed to him, and like he was kind of like, I don't know if he was as much upset as his mother was upset.
If he's not upset and he doesn't take it a certain way, then she's right.
I don't.
It's only odd for us outside of the relationship.
I don't know.
It's only odd for us because we're not in the relationship. It's only wrong.
I'm not saying it's wrong. Wrong is strong.
Yeah, wrong is strong. It's only odd if the woman does that to a guy, and the guy doesn't feel like that's acceptable, meaning that the woman doesn't know that the guy doesn't think it's acceptable, which means it's something else.
Right.
And then she does that. Or she does that to kind of trick a guy, like that is a different conversation.
A guy,
or like, because like I'm saying that based off of what people are saying about it. Because people are saying like, oh, a woman's doing that because it makes a guy feel weird for doing it. So, or if a guy feels like he's trapped when he does it.
Mm-hmm.
But if they are together, they don't feel any kind of way about whoever proposes. They don't feel some kind of way about it.
Mm-hmm.
They're not. They're just like, we're just happy to be engaged. They're not thinking about who proposes to who and everything like that. They're just like, great. They're not thinking that much into it. Then it's fine. I think it becomes a concern if one side is a lot more progressive in that sense than the other.
Right.
And then the spouse feels some kind of way about it or something like that, and then it becomes a different conversation. Because if someone does that to one person, the other person feels kind of way, like, oh, I didn't want it to be that way, then a conversation happened. Then of course it's a different conversation because they both just don't agree how it's supposed to go. Mm-hmm. Right, but if they both agree, then it's fine.
I guess for me, like in theory, yes, that's we would hope that the guy would be like, it wouldn't matter to him, it would be okay, whatever the case is. But like, there's something, I don't know if it's just and I'm all for female empowerment and I'm all for all of that, but I just kind of feel like there are some things that I feel like in the relationship, if this is a heterosexual relationship, the man should do. Like
right. for you, and you feel as if for you, we wouldn't be able to, in a situation with me and you, when you would do that, because you would never do that.
I wouldn't.
Correct. Because never. That is your feelings about the whole thing, right? And move that way. But your feelings is not everybody's feelings. And like,
but what I'm trying to understand, I guess, I always wonder in those situations, like, is the guy, like, what's the dynamic of that relationship? Is the guy truly cool with the woman proposing to him?
It's possible.
Like, I can't imagine. Like, I can't imagine doing that. Like, to me, I'm just like, nah.
And like I said, this is for you.
Like
I said, it always depends on how it's taken. Now, what happens many times is like the guy might be cool with it, and then people around him might make him feel as if that is wrong,
right?
And then he might change. He might feel some kind of way after, but even that's other people putting their input into their relationship,
right? But I
because like everybody doesn't feel the same way about it. Everybody doesn't. With evidence that it's been happening for a while. I
guess. I mean, I don't know any guy. There's no guy I know.
It's just a societal thing,
right? Like I'm just like, I guess in my experience, I don't know any, or to my knowledge, I don't know any guy who would have been okay with his girl proposing to him. I know some, yourself included, very, open-minded progressive guys, but I still feel like there is something about you that would have been like, I want to do this. I want to carry out the situation in this way. And so it's just like, I guess it's hard for me to, based on my own personal experiences, imagine a guy being okay with something like that. And I guess another part of it too, for me, is that,
and also this is assuming that they've never had a conversation before.
But like, I just can't imagine why a guy would be like, yeah, I'm okay with you getting down on your knee and proposing to me. I can't imagine. Like, I just don't understand. And maybe
it's just different ways.
Maybe it's ignorance on my part, and that's completely fine.
It's like I realize that we sometimes we all have a certain block.
Yeah, like I'm just like, I don't
like some people we're progressive up to a point. Like we're progressive. There's something is just like it's like a block, and I think that's your block.
Yeah,
your block is that. Your block is like, I don't know. This doesn't make any sense.
Like when my friend sent it to me, I was like, I would rather eat my own poop than propose to a man.
Yeah, but like
that's just not one of the things I'm getting ready to do.
It's very possible. Like they've had conversations before, and she was like, I would like to do it this time. And
sure.
And he was like, okay.
I just
because the reality is like he might be like, all right, I don't have to go through the stress of doing it. You can do it. It's cool.
But to me, I feel like that just. So what does he do?
What do you mean? What does he do?
What does he do? Like if she's the one proposing, and women normally are the ones who are like the primary wedding planners, like what is he doing?
What if he's the primary wedding planner?
What if he's not?
But like,
to me, it just feels like if she's the one doing the proposing, then she is the one that's guiding the direction of this relationship, and he's just kind of there following whatever she wants to do.
That's not what that means.
Huh?
That's not what that means.
That's how it looked to me.
Well, yeah, from the outside in.
To me, that's how it looks.
Think about it. That's based off of your perception of how you believe things should go.
I'm just hard pressed to believe that he let her propose to him in front of a bunch of people or whatever. They are now engaged, and he is now suddenly an active planner of the wedding or
it's
in the
possible.
Relationship. It's possible, but I just don't think that's what's happening.
Based off of what?
I like again. It's like you said. I have a.
I want us to delve deep into why do you feel this way, and that's where I'm kind of going. I'm telling you're. I understand you're creating a perception of somebody you have no idea.
I guess my perception of
you're creating a whole scenario from somebody and you have no idea who they are.
I'm not creating a scenario. I am literally just looking at it and saying this is how I would take this.
Correct.
If this were me,
I got that.
I guess for me, I am very much a person who believes that in the scope of heterosexual relationships, we all have roles to play. And I'm not saying like women cook, women clean, men go to work. Like, I'm not saying that. We all have our strengths, our whatever is whatever. We work however we work.
Correct.
But I do feel like there are certain things when it comes to the progression of the relationship that need to be initiated by the man. I feel like as a woman, I can make it clear what my expectations, aspirations, goals, whatever for the relationship are. But I ultimately feel like if the idea is that the man in the relationship is the leader of the relationship, why would he not be in charge of leading the relationship through the various levels, from boyfriend, girlfriend to fiance to married, whatever the case would be? Why would I not expect that is my whole thing. And I mean, I guess it maybe if people don't have that mindset about the man being the leader and then being equal partners and whatever the case is, then I suppose that's cool to a certain degree. So
there's multiple things that I guess we'll address. Number one, yes, what you're saying is true. They might not have that mindset,
right,
of one person being the leader of a relationship. They might have very believe that we all are together on the same thing. Each role can be played by either person. Mm-hmm. Right. Another part, they could still feel like the man leading the relationship, but their perception of what that looks like is just different from you.
What is if like what would he be leading in? Give me some examples.
He was leading in everything else, but not proposing one. Like, this is just one thing. Doesn't mean that he's not doing everything else. This is one thing. That is the public one thing. That's the only thing we're going by. We're not going by based off of what happened before the relationship. We're just going based off of this.
To me,
I understand how it looks. I understand with the view.
Like,
but
it looks passive.
Correct.
Of him.
Perception.
Yeah.
I understand the perception, yes. But I just want to, I guess my goal is I'm always trying to look outside of what perception, because my perception is based off of my norms. Mm-hmm. It's based off of what I've always seen. Mm-hmm. It's based off of how I feel, based off of things I've seen. But perception can always be shattered. Perception is based off of my views and what things I've done, and based off of my relationship with you. Mm-hmm. Right? Their perception is based off their relationship with themselves. Right? Mm-hmm. Their relationship with each other and how they operate and everything. They probably operate a certain way where, like, he might take, like, just an example, he might take that as the woman being submissive to him.
Take her proposing?
Yes.
How?
Because she's on one knee to him and asking, "Can I be with you?" He might take it that way. I'm just giving a perception. I understand how because that's technically what how men feel proposing is in the first place. Proposing is we're going to humble ourselves and say, "I offer my heart to you." Mm-hmm. So and so the other way around is basically saying, the man, I'm not doing that. The woman's doing that to me. So it's not a a state of you're coming from a state of humility when you're on one knee.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, the reality is I don't know if that means that the woman is leading.
She's leading the relationship to the next stage, and I don't think that.
Like I said,
I don't think there's necessarily
you're assuming that
something wrong with it, but I don't feel like that's something that she should do. But again, people have
what if he requested it that way?
That she proposed?
Yes.
What would be the reason? I
just said it because I want to say like you're saying I want you to say you offer your heart to me. It could be something that happened before. Where like there's a lot of reasons. Something could have happened where it was like, all right, I'm not like he might have tried before, and he was like, I'm not doing it for you again. If you want to be with me, you got to propose to me. There's a lot of things that could have happened. There's a lot of reasons why it can get to that point.
That just sounds very toxic and like they should break up. But okay,
that's all perception.
Okay.
There's a lot of reasons why it might happen outside of. He's not being a leader in a relationship, or like she's leading. There's a lot of things outside of that.
No,
of course, what you're saying is possible, but like there's a lot of other factors outside of that.
None of them counter the fact that to me it looks whack.
No, it's like to your perception, it's going to. Yeah, there's nothing that's going to change your perception.
Right,
of that
it looks whack because it looks like the woman is like desperate. And or trying to manipulate the man into doing something that he might not necessarily be ready to do. Because if he says, like, in that situation, one of two things is going to happen. He's either going to say yes to not embarrass her.
Which happens the other way around, but go ahead.
Or he's gonna say, if he says no, he's now the bad guy who doesn't appreciate this woman.
That's the same thing both ways. Though.
That's doing. But I feel like we're a little bit more understanding if a woman says no.
Why?
Socially?
Why? Well, it depends on who.
Like,
who you're
yes,
about.
Are there people who are like, oh my God, I can't believe she embarrassed him, da 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 da.
But that's still norms, though. That's still norms and like how we're socially constructed. That doesn't mean that it's the same feeling in the relationship. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, like I understand outside, yeah, we feel that way, but in the relationship, a no is still a no. It's still the same way.
Yeah. I just don't.
Like if you proposed and I said no, you would be hurt. If I proposed and you said no, I would be hurt. Like
yes,
it's not. It's like you're talking about outside forces. I'm talking about those two.
Right, but I don't know. I just kind of, and like the look on the guy's face was kind of like, okay, like, so I don't know if I buy into they had a discussion, whatever. It to me, my feeling is like it happens because people like say, okay, I'm just gonna take the situation into my own hands. I'm going to handle this situation in the way that I see fit, and that's what I'm going to do, and that's okay. And I guess that you know, that
is a perception.
It's a choice.
That might be one reason, but it might be, but it might not be the reason.
Yeah, I personally would not do anything.
And the fact is, guys do that also. So it's like it's like I'm not going to give it to them just because it's a woman, because guys do the same thing.
Do what?
Were proposed, even though like just to trap, like hopefully she'll be embarrassed and just say yes.
Yeah, I know.
So it's
and I don't think either side is right when they do that.
Correct, but I don't want to say just because a woman's doing it that she's doing it when guys do the same thing.
No, I agree. I agree.
If that happens, that's just because the dynamic relationship is just toxic in general.
Right,
it has nothing to do with a guy or a woman doing it.
Right, I agree.
It's a toxic relationship.
Right.
So I'd rather get away from this scenario and I'm trying to just talk about the scenario in general, because like that that scenario might be toxic, but there might be a lot of situations when it's not.
Yeah, and like this was the
there's a lot of proposals that aren't recorded.
Agreed.
Let's go with that also.
Agreed. I just feel like, my traditionalist behind when it comes to that would never.
Yeah, I know.
Would never.
And being your spouse would know that and would never request that. You know what I'm saying?
No, I understand.
So even if I felt that way, I wouldn't just never request it because I would know my spouse.
Right.
But like everybody, you should know your spouse. Like some spouses are fine with it, some spouses are not.
Yeah, and like people were with the inspiration for this, people were trying to make it like it's a black women like issue because
as they do everything.
There's a narrative that black women get married at like a lesser rate than every other group of women in this country, blah 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 blah. But it's like, no, people do this all the time. Like I've seen videos of white women doing it. Like,
yeah.
And either way, I'm just like, sis, if you don't get up off that floor, if you don't get up.
It's always the perception of the black woman being aggressive.
No, and it's just like no,
and that's more the reason why like I'm not bound to do that just because like just assume that she's being aggressive. Like I said, they could have had an understanding, or it could be a lot of there's a lot of reasons behind it, and like I don't think
all of them end with nope for me, but yes,
but there's a lot of reasons behind it. Not all of them mean that the man isn't leading the relationship. Not all of them mean like there's a lot of things that. Well, there's a lot of factors behind it.
So let me ask you a question. In your circle of people, of friends,
that is which circle? Because my circles.
Your circle of friends who are currently married. Okay. Do you think that what do you think the perception would have been had I proposed to you and you were like, all right, cool?
Knowing that circle, they would have conversations with me. But you know why?
Yes.
But you understand?
But I'm just saying
but I'm also not a person who cares what other people think.
No, I know that, but I'm just saying like amongst men, like I don't feel like generally like men kind of look at that like, oh yeah, that's what's up. Like
well, once again, that's not a very general.
But I don't know all men. I'm making very general statements here.
Like it depends on the group of friends. That's what I said. What circle you're talking about? It depends on what circle you're talking about.
Yes.
Depends on the circle. It might not be a big issue.
Okay. So what? I guess which of your circles do you think would not have a big issue?
Probably like the more circle of friends from like Hampton.
Okay. Gotcha. And then my whole thing was just in my head, I feel like if as a woman you've come to the point where you're like legitimately considering proposing to a man, like I feel like you got to take a step back and figure out what's happening in your life because
you just create a whole scenario again.
I'm not creating a scenario. She proposed to him.
No.
What scenario am I creating?
No, what I'm saying is I think you like because the wording you use, it made it seem like if a woman proposes, it's like a last ditch effort, right?
Well, I mean, look at Kristin and Jim Jones, for example, when they were on Love and Hip Hop. She kept talking about getting married, and Jim was kind of like, blah, 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 blah. And so I think at the end of the first or second season, she got down on her knees and proposed to him. He accepted. And then they've spent the last, 10 years going back and forth about like, are we ready? Are we not ready?
That's also Kristin and Jim Jones.
Right, but what I'm saying is...
It's a bad example.
What I'm saying... It's not a bad example.
When I say a bad example, meaning
she basically...
It's still one person.
She basically made herself the butt of jokes.
Okay.
For a decade plus. And she's still not married to this guy. And so it's like... What? To me, I just feel like... If a guy wants to marry you, he will. If you're at the point in the relationship where you feel like you as the woman have to go to the measure of proposing, you really need to take a step back and figure out what's going on outside of whatever alleged conversation you may or may not have had. Like, I just feel like many times it comes from a place of, I want what I want, and I'm going to take matters into my own hands.
I won't say many times, but that time might have been.
It's more than that, but okay. I appreciate your optimism.
I don't like it. It's hard for me to just create that that measure based off of that. Like I said, there's many times like that's just a lot of people might have unproductive marriages.
Yes.
Right. Regardless of who does what. A lot of people propose and there's a long engagement, regardless of who proposes. Right. That does not. I don't think I think I don't want to separate those two. Meaning, like, if Jim Jones proposed or she proposed, it might have been the same thing because of their relationship. That's my point. Because of how it played out.
No.
I'm just saying it's possible. I'm not saying I don't know. I'm saying it's possible that it's happened because we've seen that be possible many times. It's possible it has or not, but it's possible because it's happened many times. It's happened many times where a guy would propose just to hold somebody there, and then they'll wait a long time for the actual marriage. A lot of just to hold the person where they are. Like, I just want you to stay. I want you to stay around, so I will propose so you stay around. Same thing.
Do that.
Correct. Same thing. A woman might do the same thing. I'll propose to hold you so you stay around. Flip side.
Seems dramatic, but
both parties might do it. Flip side. They for a more healthy version of that would be, they both had conversations about marriage and everything like that. Might have been a conversation where woman was like, "Hey, you know what? I would like to propose," and the guy would say yes or no to that, and then they would move forward with it. That doesn't seem weird to me if they have decided together that.
Does Jim Jones seem like the type of dude that had a conversation with her and said it's okay if you propose?
Get it away from Jim Jones.
I'm asking you a question. Because I brought up that specific example. I'm asking, do you think Jim Jones and Chrissy had a conversation and Jim Jones said, I would be okay with you proposing to me?
Correct. Chrissy was incorrect and wrong in how she did it because she did not consult him first.
And what I'm saying is I don't believe the level of optimism you have about these pre-conversations happening, but I appreciate that you have the optimism. I just don't believe it.
What do you mean?
Again, I don't know all men. I haven't met all men, but I am hard pressed to believe.
We had a conversation about marriage before? Am I correct?
I don't know where this is going. What conversation?
I'm saying is, like, if it is, I feel like it's always.
Are you talking about me and you specifically having a conversation?
Yes.
And what in what context?
This is what I'm making. I think every a good start before you even get to actual getting on the knee and proposing is you've had the conversation before about maybe getting married, and you I feel as if you should know that the person is going to say yes before you even propose.
Agreed.
You have that conversation. So meaning you've had this conversation about marriage and you kind of have an idea of how the person feels about it.
Okay.
So if you've had this conversation, and this is in a healthy situation, you had this conversation, you kind of have a feeling about how each person feels. That's why I say I want to get away from that one, because they haven't had the conversation at all.
But the whole point I'm trying to make is, even if they did have that conversation about, yes, we desire to get married.
No, they have the conversation, because having the conversation about get married, like if based off what you're saying that Jim Jones does not like the fact that she proposed to him, she didn't know that is a big flag. She should know that about the person you're talking to.
Right. But what I'm trying to say is, even if you've had the conversation, you agree that you want to get married at some point, I still personally don't feel like it's on the woman to now initiate that process.
No, I
because
got it.
People, like, to me, I feel like as a woman, I have more to lose if a marriage collapses. So I feel like I want the person who is supposed to be entering into this with me to be the one who initiates that as a show to me.
Correct.
That they have the same level of investment in this that I do.
Correct. And you should do that. And that's what you did with me. And that's fine. The way you feel is not how everybody feels.
Yes, I understand that. I'm just saying I think
want to
it
fully
was
separate
weird.
how you feel, because how you feel is valid. You should
Right.
feel that way, and you should operate how you feel. Not everybody feels that way.
I understand. It's just something I can't wrap my mind around because I would just never do that.
You have a block.
I'm just like, wow, that's crazy. Congrats to the people who are engaged. I hope they make it down the aisle and all that jazz. I could never, and I would, my Avery will never. I will have to beat her up.
You can't beat up. She's gonna be
I can do whatever I want, first of all. And what I'm not going to do is raise my baby to be proposing to no Negro, okay? It's absolutely not what I'm going to do, okay?
They both agree.
I'm going to have a talk with that young man because, sir,
They both have agreed.
I don't care what they both agree on. I don't care what they both on the same page on. He's doing the proposing, and that's the story. Okay?
That's not how it works.
Mark, are you going to back me up on this or not?
I'm not.
Fine. I will just have to bulldoze it myself, and that's fine. You're okay with your daughter proposing to a Negro? Is that what you're saying to me? That's fine with you?
With this broad brush thing.
It's not a broad brush thing. I'm talking about our child proposing to some random dusty Negro.
Why? Number one, why
he's dusty because he's letting her propose. That's why. That's why.
Know the process.
Well, I do know he's dusty. Story closed. Ended.
As the world gets more progressive, I don't know what's going to happen.
I'm going to strongly counsel my child against such behaviors. Okay. You can join me if you would like. That's up to you. What I know is that when I go to heaven, I want to know that I did my part.
That's the part you want to make sure you did.
Yes.
That's the thing.
I've done a lot of things, but this part here I want to highlight. PowerPoint present slide number 4. I counsel my daughter against proposing to Dusties. Okay. That's doing God's work in my opinion.
That's right.
So that's that's that on that. Okay. All right. Ladies, don't propose to these Negroes. Just don't do it. I don't care what conversation I have. Don't do it.
Okay.
0 out of 10 stars. Would not recommend. Don't do it. Y'all have choices, but just don't do it. Yeah.
You sure they have choices? Because
they have choices. I'm just saying that they shouldn't make the choice, but they should. They have choices.
You sure?
People can do whatever they want. Whatever they want.
Except when you find out about it.
I might judge, honestly. I mean, I'll still support you. I'll still come to your wedding. I'll still get you a gift, but I might judge a little bit if I find out that you the one that proposed. But it's all right. It's all right. We all have our journey in this life.
You and your hard lines.
Well, I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, you have certain hard lines.
I really do. I'm just like,
your hard lines are very interesting to me sometimes.
I don't know. I didn't make myself.
Like certain things you be like, hard line, no. I'm like, why is this the hard line? Why? All the things you're like, okay, progressive. Everything else you're like, hard line, no.
Nope.
I'm like,
I'm not with it. I'm not with it. And if I have any friends out there who the lady proposed to the man, I hope I didn't offend you. I hope I didn't upset you. You do you live your life. It's just not something I would do personally. But if you're cool, I'm cool. That's all. As for me in my house, though, we don't do that here. But you do you at your house.
So a woman can only propose if they're in a lesbian relationship. Every other time, no.
Pretty much, yeah. That's about it.
Okay.
That's the extent of women proposing right there.
Only lesbian relationships are the only thing you can propose with.
If you are a woman, yes, that is correct.
Okay, we're not.
But it's 2 women in the relationship. Who gonna propose? There's no man here. One of the 2 women can. It's totally fine. Anyways, moving on.
If you have any questions or any comments, please comments on our website, or you can send us emails with your comments, or you can get on our Discord if you are on our Patreon, and just come comment on these things.
Word, my guys.
Word
and gals.
People. Word.
All right, let us move on to our Haunted Spotlight.